Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. This is Carol Parisi reporting for Champion News Talk Radio. Our founder, Jack Roser, and myself have Jeff Tucek and Bill Zettler today. And during the break, we were talking about, since pensions have done so well, what is health care reform going to look like, gentlemen, under Obamacare or the, what is it, the Citizen Availability
You're
Act?
being sarcastic about done so well. Done so well for who? Mr. Madigan and his political machine?
I was being sarcastic.
But boy, for the rest of us, it's a disaster.
You know, if we could just tie into the pensions, because this is data I got from the Illinois Policy Institute. A private sector benefit for a good job. You have a good private sector job.
What is that? What do you consider a good private sector job?
Probably somebody that's making over $75,000 a year.
Okay.
Right? They're going to get about $9,300 in health care provided by their employer. In 2010, that number for a state employee was about $15,000. There was a difference of $5,300 a year per employee about how much they get, who contributes to their health care. So us taxpayers are giving them an extra $5,300 per year per employee.
So
I'm an employer, a big employer. I got 600 people working for me. And our costs are very close to what you said. We've got a really complete and generous thing. I mean, I'm popping $4 million a year into health care in our company. And the money that everybody in my company earns, because they're into profit sharing too.
Right.
But your figures are good. My experience of a full-blown, decent health system are like that. And the other figure is what, half again as much?
Yeah,
they're getting
over $5,000 more per.
That's 50% more.
For 50% more. This and Bill is the expert on this because I've used his data. This is the other part of the massive debt that is yet to be put on the table.
Right. This
so
is
all we've been talking about is pension debt.
Right. We've talked about
what they get in their pensions, but all these healthcare promises, they're staggering. The last number I looked, there's $27 billion. You said it's a lot more than that right now.
It's probably $40 billion. We spend $2.5 billion on healthcare just at the state level. That does not include teachers. $2.5 billion.
Oh my Lord.
So if we got the employees to pick up just 40%, which is about the average in the private sector, that's $1 billion a year. Right now, state employees do not pay for insurance when they work. They do not pay when they retire if they've had at least 20 years with the state.
And do you know...
Let me just add right onto your figures. The thing we were talking about during the break is Mr. Madigan passed a bill down there for $3.7 billion just to ease this retirement thing through one more year, which by your figures is going to build to a $40 billion a year need, added debt to handle the growth of this pension system thing. This can't be sustained.
The current and future employees should be scared to death because the money evaporates when it goes in. They're just making current commitments.
Well, see, and you know what?
These politicians have just let this thing grind on and on. They've been afraid to face the people and tell them the truth of where their stinking lousy political power has driven them. The unions have given the power. The IEA, with all of the money they get from the teachers, they've used the dues from the teachers to make themselves an unbeatable political team down there, and they run Mr. Madigan.
But clearly,
he may look like he's a great Democrat, but he is just another tool of the big unions.
Well, there's an incestuous relationship between the unions and these lawmakers, and clearly citizen activists, if you want to call it Tea Party, 912s, you know, the Awaken America groups, clearly these folks need to have called their lawmakers out and lobby them on more than just a telephone issue. Wouldn't you agree? Don't you think getting into lawmakers' faces?
We have to do everything.
Take all modalities.
Absolutely. And Jack's a World War II veteran, so he's seen the big show, the really big show. But we have to have infantry divisions. We have to have artillery. We have to have everything.
Very good analogy. You know, I had a meeting.
And by the way, the Tea Parties are the infantry divisions.
Well, the grassroots, the citizen activists, because not all not all
infantry
these-
for bravery, the cavalry for grit, the engineers for slavery.
This American populist movement that's known as the Tea Party or the 912s are really taking over and taking charge and getting out there is what we're saying. But do you realize, we were talking about Obamacare and how Obamacare is now raising health care by 18% just in this last year. Now, I'm hearing you, Mr. Zettler, Bill, talk about we haven't even hit on this $80 billion isn't even including the unsubstantiated health care costs.
No, the $80 billion is definitely low for technical reasons, but we'll use their $85 billion. Plus you have probably $40 billion in what they call other post-employment benefits. That's the health care promise to retirees. That's $40 billion. Then you have about $35 billion in bonds.
Wow.
Okay. Now, next year, this year, 2012, the payment is going to be $7 billion for pensions, including the money and the bond payments. That's 20% of the budget to pay pensions for 5% of the workers in Illinois. Unsustainable.
It's unsustainable. What did Wisconsin do?
You know,
in 20
we haven't
seconds?
heard very much from Bill here, but luckily there are a lot of his articles that you can get in Champion News, and it very clearly how you can get to them, and they got nice titles like, what, The Anatomy of a Teacher's Contract?
Yes, there's
You got-
150 of them out there.
He makes it interesting. There's a bunch of stuff that could bore you to death, except the way he does it, the significance of it will get your blood boiling.
Well, you know what?
It's not
During our
boring.
break, listeners, go to championnews.net and check out Bill Zettler's Anatomy of a Teacher's Salary. Stick with us, because when we come back after the break, we're going to be talking to Mr. Tucek and Mr. Zettler more about spending your taxpayer dollars with unsubstantiated pensions.